each other for many years. We recently talked a lot about the market changes around our school sector and after COVID, and worrying about the shrinking international students market, as well as the booming of domestic students enrollment that may cause many schools' principal to question whether it's worthwhile putting such a big investment in recruiting international students. So I have then spent some time and get those data from the Education Count website. I found that um, the total number of the school have the international students. So just let me link back this one. um, had been dropped from just over 600 schools to 483 schools in 2021, but that's climbing back in 2023. So although some not yet back to the level before COVID, we may all aware that the school need to at least have 10 to 12 international students. Then you may able to run an international department to have one is full-time international directors plus part-time homestay coordinators. So in New Zealand, less than half, only around 35 to 40% of schools have more than 10 international students nowadays. Um, China is still the number one market for our school sector. That's around 40 to 45% of international students were from China. So Auckland schools may have more than 50% of the market share. So the figures here are enrollment numbers. Um, Although Japan is ranked number two compared to China market, so most Japanese students are short-term, less than 1 year. But most Chinese students are long-term, at least 2 to 3 years, and continually they are tertiary studies in New Zealand. So I don't against these strategies of diversify the market, but I do want to emphasize that China market shouldn't be ignored. So in fact, some schools did tell me that when the border closed during the COVID, because they have large number of Chinese students, as those students, they don't go home. So they finish their high school programs with the school. So the school still able to keep their international staff during the pandemic. So the numbers of Chinese students enrolled on the school sector have dropped from around 8,500 in 2017 to 2,200 in 2022. So it does make sense as our schools cannot enroll any new international students because the border is closed. So although the border closed in 2020, but 2020 wasn't too bad because most of our enrollments have already arrived. So the big drop start in 2021, which is from 5,500 in 2020 to just under 3,000 Chinese students in 2021. So as the 2023 international student enrollment figures are, because it's not yet published. So here instead, we still can look at the valid students visa numbers. That would also give you some sense about the market trend. As most Chinese students, which is over 70% of Chinese students were enrolled with universities, that's only 15% of the Chinese students with our school sector. So in December last year, there were only less than 2,000 Chinese students in the school sector. But before COVID, in March 2020, we have over 5,000 Chinese students in New Zealand schools. There is still a lot of room to grow. So the statistic shows that the growth in school sector is not yet quite picked up when compared with the university sector. But if we look at the China market, it does show strong interest in sending young kids overseas. Let's look at the current China market situation. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, so the study destination has become more diverse when you compare with it before. So according to the recent report by New Oriental, that has been a significant surge in Chinese students showing interest in studying the UK, with a whopping increase of 41%. But it's not just the traditional study destination. So the places like Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, and Malaysia had also become popular choice for young Chinese students seeking international schooling opportunities. So the preference for New Zealand is as a study destination has still remained steady, with about 4 to 5% of the Chinese students still keen on studying there. So even after the pandemic. So, although there is a trend, the traditional study destination, such as the US, have seen a decrease in interest due to political tensions between China and the US. So the Chinese media's focus on negative news about the US also contribute to parents' concern about the safety of sending their kids there. So because of that, many Chinese students choose the UK and Australia rather than the US during the COVID. The actual number of students going to the UK and Australia continue to rise in these 2 years. However, this increase poses a challenge in terms of capacity to host international students, which leading to issues with, for example, finding suitable accommodations for the students, and also parents and agents facing these difficulties placing students in schools and universities with many Chinese students, and try to securing suitable accommodations for them. So on the flip side, Chinese students are showing a significant interest in Asian countries, like what I just mentioned, like Japan, Singapore, and Korea. So one of the main reason is that close proximity to China, all within a short 3 hours flight. Parents, understandable, want to get their young kids nearby. So reasonable low cost and increasing numbers of high quality international schools in Asian countries also attract Chinese students to those countries. So at the same time, we are also witnessing that's a strong interest among Chinese students in New Zealand because of the stable political relationship between China and New Zealand and its reputations as one of the safety study destination for young students. So New Zealand offers a good education and sense of security for parents, making it a top choice for Chinese students seeking both quality learning and safe environments. So 10 years ago, there were only 380 international schools in China. However, now, that's just after 10 years' time, the number of Chinese international school has gone up to just over 1,400 by 2021. So this growing number of international school that which can be attributed in part of the implementation of a policy which is named double reduction policy. This policy focuses on reducing the academic burdens on students at the primary school and junior high school by addressing two main aspects. One is reducing their homework, and then also it's closing down the after school tutoring. So that's a policy pushing at least 50% of Chinese students to vocational education after completing their junior high school. So as a result of this policy, uh, parents are worrying about their kids. If they study in a vocational college, may end up they have no chance to find a good job as their children because they are not graduate from any of those good university. So for this reason, more students are opting for this private school education, particularly international schools that offer international curriculums. So these international schools are not limited to foreign passport holder. They also can accept Chinese nationals seeking the international style education. So studying in the international curriculum high school that offers is still school students the advantage of skipping that's national university entrance examinations, which is Gaokao. And then they can choosing to study abroad after they completing their high school education in China. So the most popular international curriculum, such as like A level, IB, and AP, which is advanced placement. So international schools in major city, the first tier city, for example, like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, they charge some of the top fees in the world. But the demand for the international style education among those parents remains very strong. But because but that still have the challenge to those international school. For example, after COVID, there's a shortage of qualified foreign teachers. It's very hard to find foreign teachers in China at the moment. So as well as there's too many international school, they're now in China competing to recruit students that may have one concern about the potential decline in the student quality. So when you recruit students in China, when they graduate international, when they complete their international programs in China, you may find that they may not speak good English, or their academic quality compared with 10 years ago is getting worse. That's because of that. So because of this rapid growth of international school in China, so the Chinese government now took action in late 2021. They introduced in the policy is called the law on the promotion of private education. This law is trying to stop profit making in private international school. So the government sees this fast expansion of private education as having a negative impact on their public education system. So they adjust that. They set a goal to reduce the proportion of a private school enrollments. Currently, the national average of 15% of the total education system, and then they try to cut that down to just 5%, which is to say at least two-thirds of private schools in China will be disappear in the next couple of years. So as a result, many private schools they are faced with the decision they either shut down or merge into the public school system. So this trip, they leading to a very significant change for students as they may have the transaction from an international curriculum back to a China national curriculum. So the consequence is parents, they're considering the option of sending their kids overseas earlier to ensure they continue receiving an international style education. So which means you may possibly see a student when they complete year 10 or year 9, and they now choose a New Zealand school to continue their international education curriculum. So why there was a prediction about the India potentially maybe surpassing China in a major destination market in 2023. But the reality is that China still remains a significant and unignorable market, especially in the school sector. So in New Zealand, the number of Chinese students studying in the school sector still showing a remarkably increased. So when we compare with 10 years ago, in 2013, the Chinese students make up around 13% of international students in school. But before COVID, by 2019, this proportion has gone up to 26%. So also that's a report by New Oriental. So that's around 50%, 50% of students, if they choose to study overseas, they actually already have the overseas study experience, either through like a study tours or short-term programs, which organized by their international school or travel agents. So many of these students, because they have the study tour or short-term study in very different countries. They try out different study destination before they deciding on their final study destination. So this trend highlights the growing number of students planning to study abroad prefer they experience short-term studies in different countries and then make final decision, which is the best fit for their long-term study destination. So Greater China, that's including the market of Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. So I would like to spend a few more minutes on those markets. The difference to mainland China, the Hong Kong is a very good market for the school sector. That's around 45% of Hong Kong students, they are studying New Zealand school. So people may not aware how big of the size of the Hong Kong market. So before COVID, there were around 1,200 international students from Hong Kong. So that's already similar size to Vietnamese students in New Zealand. So Taiwan is a little bit smaller market when compared to Hong Kong and Macau. It's just around 500 students every year to New Zealand. Around 30% of them, they are study in the school sector. So this is our last page. So here's our team of China. So feel free to contact any of us. And then you can see that we have three colleagues doing the market development. So one in Beijing, one in Shanghai, and one myself in Guangzhou. So thank you for listening. So I hand it back to Arthur.
Oh, thank you so much, Felix. That was really insightful, and I found some of the stats that you have rattled off to be very similar to some of our understanding of what's happening across the Greater China countries. I think for myself, it's really good to understand that New Zealand is on the rebounds back. So hopefully we all get more international students who select New Zealand as the destination of choice. And for those of you who just joined us this afternoon, just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. And hopefully you have had a great Christmas and New Year. My name is Arthur Chin, and I think I would know most of you, having worked in the sector for well over 15 years. What I'm going to do now is to bring up some of the slides and tell you a bit more about Link Global Education. So if you just bear with me, please. Right. So a bit about the organizers of today's event, Link Global Education. So Link is a New Zealand-based international education consultancy, and we've got links across a number of cities worldwide. We partner with schools and education institutions, and it is a win-win relationship that we are seeking. So education, as what Felix has alluded to earlier, it is all about reputation, and it is all about branded quality. And our goal is to ensure that there is long-term sustainability and brand profile of our schools. So consultants like myself, we bring different aspects of experience and know-how within the internationalization of education. And this ensures that Link Global Education is able to tap on different areas of expertise, be it marketing, PR, crisis management, compliance and audit, or best practices in pastoral care. So all of us work as consultants or partners, and we're all connected to this organization known as Link Global Education. And contrary to what you may be thinking, Link, we are not a student recruitment agency. In fact, we believe that there is a sort of gray area in commissions, in paying commissions for enrollment, and we stay clear away from it. So Link organizes a number of marketing initiatives, and we invite our school partners to join us on these missions. And if, as a result of joining us on one of these marketing missions, that schools result in the successful conversion of international students, schools do not have to pay a commission to us. So again, we are not a recruitment agency, we are more a consultancy. So Link offers a comprehensive list of services to support our partner schools. And they include advisory to school leadership and board, independent audits of existing practices, structured overseas marketing missions to schools and parent seminars. We specialize in study tours, but inbound and also inbound and outbound tours. And more importantly, for many of our independent school providers who are here today, this allows prospective students to experience what it is like studying in your school. So Link also has licensed immigration advisors working with us. And this means all your students' pastoral care coordinators have a direct point of contact to query about any of the visa issues that students may have. And finally, we provide advice on managing public relations issues, and our advice take into account the different language and cultural protocols. So a key benefit of partnering with Link is that we provide a fortnightly newsletter on policies and changing trends that may well have an impact on international education. And this newsletter is free to subscribe, and you can do this via our website at www.lge.co.nz. And what I'd like to do now is to take you on a case study, a very small case study that highlights the benefits that Link offers to school. I will keep the genesis of this case study and our sources private, but I'm sure some of you will no doubt have read about this from different news publications. So a large number of independent schools across Asia had experienced a surge in international withdrawals in 2021 and 2022. And Felix had touched on this earlier in his presentation. So two of the key reasons that we understand were due to the fact that expat families were returning to their home countries as they have either lost their employment or parents wanted their kids to be at home with them during the pandemic. A saving grace for many of the independent schools was the spike in the number of domestic enrollments. For many of the rich parents, there were few investable options during the pandemic, and they decided to invest in private education to ensure that the children were not missing out on important learning. However, there were signs that domestic withdrawals are happening as quickly right now, especially with the economic downturn and the reduction of COVID measurements being two of the key reasons. What is quite concerning to us, and no doubt for some of you as well, is that financial viability is now a key priority for many schools, principals, and boards. And in fact, we hear that boards are telling our partners that recruitment of staff remains very difficult and more costly. And at the same time, we know that school registrars are looking at how to get better value for their dollar or where they can reduce fixed overheads. So on the next slide, I'm just going to demonstrate how Link adds value to schools. So Link adopts what we call a user pay approach, whereby schools only pay for services that it utilizes. This means that it frees up a lot of capital for school management. So assuming that your school has approximately 15 international enrollments, with each student paying approximately $30,000. In this case, you'll be paying likely around $112,000 or about 25% of the tuition fees as commission. And if you decide to join us on our organized marketing missions and you are successful in conversion of students, the fact is that you don't have to pay us a commission. And what this does is that it immediately increases the economic viability for schools. On the same line, if you have 15 international students, you would also be needing an international manager who could also be doubling up as the teaching staff. You'll also be employing a marketing staff and perhaps one or two pastoral coordinator. And what this means is that no matter if you have 1 or up to 15 international students, you still need a pastoral care coordinator to ensure that your school adheres to the code of practice requirements. And what schools are telling us is that this is a major concern for them because the majority of schools have less than 10 international students and the high cost of staff employment is really not economically viable. And so again, in this case, Link suggests a service whereby we connect directly with your international students on a fortnightly basis, and we connect with your students in a mother tongue to ensure that we picked up on concerns early on. We adopt a prevention approach, and we connect with our students to make sure that from a language and cultural point of view, students are more willing to open up to us. Our engagement with students takes place once a fortnight. And again, this allows us and our partner schools to pick up on any concerns early on. So this service has a charge of $500 per student per term. And for 15 international students, schools will be paying approximately $30,000 as opposed to around $85,000 for full-time staff. So as you can see, Link adds value to our partner schools, with schools retaining a significant portion of the fees that international students pay. And in this case study, schools retain an additional approximately $167,000 of fees that international students pay, which is very significant. And of course, we do offer a comprehensive range of services as a one-stop consultancy. So this is the final slide detailing some of our upcoming events. And what I'd like to do next is to open up for questions as well, both for myself and also for Felix. So we will be organizing a marketing mission to China in March, visiting a number of independent schools across China. And this is where headmasters and principals have the opportunity to build direct contacts with the China-based counterparts. Our marketing initiatives also include specialized areas. As we know, each learner is unique and have different areas of interest. So for example, we'll be embarking on a marketing mission to connect with international students who want to embark on a science-based program in May. And our delegation also includes international schools with a specialty in science. So throughout the year, we'll also offer a range of initiatives, including professional development for staff, and we'll be detailing these programs on our website. So on a final note, before I open up for questions, I just want to thank you all for taking time out to participate in Link's webinar today. And it is really good to see so many familiar faces today. So again, special and massive thank you to Felix Yet, Senior Market Development Manager at Education New Zealand, for the updates. And again, don't forget to subscribe to our free newsletter. So I'm just going to post the screen and see if there's any questions for us. Anyone has questions for Felix or myself?
I have a question for you, Arthur.
Oh, hi, Bron.
Yeah, kia ora. My question is in regards to international students. So we're just beginning our learning journey there. We're a small urban school in Takapuna, which is in Auckland. So we have no international students. Do we need to have 10 or more students to be able to take part in your Global Link program?
No, you don't. No. In fact, our main market is to cater to schools that have potentially less than 15 international students. And the main reason for this is that if your school has, say 10 or more students, you would more likely understand the ins and outs of what international students require. So what we're saying, or what we're suggesting, Bron, is that if you're looking at thinking about having international enrollments in your school, it's not economically viable to start hiring staff because you need about 8 to 10 to break even. That is the sort of numbers that we are talking about. But if you to join us, this is where we will be subcontracting those pastoral care services to us, and we'll be providing those services to you for a tiny percentage of the tuition fee.
Okay. Thank you. We've got ministry sign-off. We just don't have any students yet.
Absolutely. And feel free to connect with us on our website, and we're happy to reach out to you separately. Thanks,
Fantastic.
Bron.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. I see that there was a question on the chat box. Would it be possible to email a copy of the PowerPoint used today? Absolutely. So what we'll do is that we'll send through the presentation together with the slides that Felix has shared with us, possibly by the end of today or early tomorrow. Any other questions? Maybe I could ask Felix a question, something that's been on my mind for a wee while, Felix. So Felix, it's obviously understanding there's been a number of changes in policies in China, which has really affected the appetite of international education. So my question to you is that do you think that education, or rather international education, would increase in demand given the fact that there's a lot of uncertainties at a geopolitical level, or even policies that affects domestic education in China?
Surely, I think the short answer is yes. And when you look at the China market, it's really a huge market. That's one thing. And then secondly, because it still is more wealthy people, they are willing to send their kids overseas. And then when you look at the China international students market, it's back to around like 20, 25 years ago, especially in New Zealand. I think it started from year 1999 to 2000 at that time. It's kind of growing market. And that's the time when I study in New Zealand. And now I become a parents. So which means a lot people is like my age is willing to send their kids overseas, especially to New Zealand. So that's why I think I always encouraging our industry to focus on like alumni, because when you look at, they already become parents, so they already have the feeling, or they already have the connection with New Zealand. I think that will be a very good marketing channel to do this. So it's a lot of my friends in the university. They are already consulting me how can they send their kids uh, to to New Zealand. So that's really different. Just it's before, when 20 years ago, it's only wealthy or kind of very niche markets. They are keen to send their kids to New Zealand high school. But now it's different. It's all middle class in China. They are able to afford.
Oh, thank you, Felix. I think you're absolutely right. I think I've operated in the China market for well over 10 years now, and I've actually seen that it is now a lot more affordable, given that the size of the middle income segment has increased significantly. And you're absolutely right in terms of alumni, because it's the personal experience, isn't it? So the personal experience of having gone through education in New Zealand and wanting your own kids to go through the same experience as yourself. So that's definitely a really, really useful point to share. Thank you, Felix. Any other questions? There was one from Simon. I'll read out the question. Are the decision-making factors of Chinese parents changing post-COVID? So are the decision-making factors of Chinese parents changing post-COVID? Anything new that schools need to be aware of? Probably useful to come from you, Felix.
Yes, I think it definitely quite a big change compared with pre-COVID and COVID. Now, pre-COVID, parents are more keen to send their kids to the US or the UK, especially to the US for the high schools. But after COVID, people is more thinking about the security side. So when we look at the security side of safe environments, it's not only talking about the environment safe or the society or there's no crime rate. They're not thinking about that way. They're also thinking about the political reason. New Zealand is definitely safe. There's no war compared with the other countries. So that's kind of parents one have a peace of mind. So when you look at during the COVID, parents, because like I just mentioned, parents are more keen to send their kids to Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, or Hong Kong because the distance. But now after COVID, because it's free to travel, so they start thinking about to send the kids to Australia and New Zealand and also Canada. So it definitely, I think that's one side of trend, and also the another trend is the parents start getting younger and younger kids to overseas. Before it used to be when I worked for the school sector, we only can recruit students from year 11 to year 13 mostly between this age. But nowadays, more parents they are willing to send their kids even for primary school, and then they want to be a guardian, have the guardian visa to New Zealand. So that's the trend, which means the market is getting larger. But it depends on your school, because I know lots of schools they have a very limited place for international students because the growing number of domestic enrollments. Yeah.
Thank you, Felix. Can I just point out one thing that you raised earlier is about study tours. So if we have short-term study tours, inbound study tours, this is where students can get a bit of what we call taster. So the sector word vocabulary here is taster. So students can get a taster of what it is like to study in New Zealand. So one of the key services that Link offers is that if you are interested in hosting international students, this could be for up to, say, 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks. Please let us know so we're able to arrange inbound tours into New Zealand, and we'll pay schools a fee for short-term placements so international students can get a taste of what it is like studying in your school. And likewise, if you have domestic students or students in your school who's wanting to travel to places like Guangzhou, for instance, where they can get an immersion of culture and experience what it is like to study in a Chinese school for, say, a couple of weeks, please do let us know, because we do have contacts or partner schools, and we'll be more than happy to host your students in the independent schools in China.
Yes, thank you for the reminding the short-term study. Because now short-term study is very popular. Because when you look at other countries, like the US, they only have the summer camp. That's totally different to our New Zealand style of a short-term study. So if you don't want to arrange like a tour, you can always send it to the for the like an agency to do that for you, like travel agent or education agent. I think why we are quite emphasize on the short-term study. Part of the reason because like I just mentioned, they want to have a kind of taster to start with. Because as parents, they don't want to have a surprise. So which means they will try different school. I know a lot of parents, they are sending their kids every July to a school to see whether the kids can accommodate themselves into the environments. So that's is kind of a good selling points. Like I just mentioned, it's around like a 50% of kids already have overseas experience before they start picking their full-time study or their final study destination. So that's one thing. And then secondly, because I just mentioned about there's a huge number of international schools in China now, and then they want to have culture experience. So their school organizes a school trip to overseas to different country. So if you think, oh, that's too border, I don't want to do too much on the short-term study, you are always welcome to have connections with one or two international school in China, let's say that way, and only host a student from that international school to build in the sister school relationship. Yep, there's something I want to add.
Thank you, Felix. Again, it's very useful. I'm just conscious that we are coming up to time, and it's for many of us or many of you, it's the first week back at work, so there's quite a bit to achieve before term starts. So I just want to say again, thank you all for taking the time out to take part in our webinar this afternoon. Special thanks to Felix. And please don't forget to subscribe to our free newsletter at www.lge4lingglobalEducation.co.nz. And this is where you get fortnightly updates on the changing trends of international education. And that covers not just in China or the Asia Pacific, but all around the world. So thank you again, everyone, and ka kite. Cheers.